The clink of wine glasses and the hum of polite conversation filled the room, but all I could hear was the pounding of my own heartbeat. I had been dreading this dinner for weeks. My husband's family wasn't cruel, but his sister, Amanda, had a talent for turning an evening into a courtroom. Every question was an interrogation, every smile a trap. Still, I forced myself to sit straight, napkin folded neatly on my lap, and smile at her across the table. I was determined not to let her win tonight. I had survived harsher battles in silence, and if I could get through this dinner without breaking, then maybe, just maybe, I could finally find some peace. But Amanda had other plans. And when she leaned forward, her wine glass reflecting the dim light of the chandelier, I knew something was coming. The setup. "So, Sarah," she began, dragging out my name as if it tasted sour on her tongue, "how are your friends doing these days?" The word friends was laced with venom. My fork froze midair. Across from me, my husband, Daniel, reached for his water but didn't meet my eyes. He had warned me earlier in the car, "She's going to push your buttons. Don't let her." I tried to answer casually. "They're fine, thank you." But Amanda wasn't satisfied. She placed her glass down slowly, theatrically, and said, "Funny. Because I've heard you've been spending an awful lot of time with certain men. Care to explain that to the rest of us?" The room went quiet. The only sound was the crackle of the fireplace. My throat tightened. There it was, the ambush I'd been waiting for. The accusation. "Amanda," Daniel said sharply, "this isn't the time." "Oh, but it is," she insisted, her eyes glittering with triumph. "We're all family here, aren't we? Shouldn't we be honest with one another? Sarah, if you've been sneaking around, Daniel deserves to know." Heat spread across my chest. I wanted to scream, to throw my napkin in her smug face, but instead, I stayed quiet. Years of practice had taught me silence was safer than outbursts. "Don't pretend you don't know what I'm talking about," she continued. "I've seen the texts, Sarah. I've seen the photos. You with different men, always looking a little too cozy." Gasps echoed around the table. Daniel's mother stared at me, wide-eyed. My stomach dropped. This was it. Amanda was painting me as a cheater in front of everyone I loved. And unless I spoke now, I would lose everything. The inner struggle. I could have told the truth right then. But the truth was complicated, painful, and messy. It wasn't the kind of thing you dropped into polite conversation over roasted chicken and wine. The truth was, those men were not lovers. They were ghosts of a past I had fought to bury. They were reminders of a life my husband's family had no idea existed. But Amanda's smirk was unbearable. Her delight in tearing me down lit something inside me that I had long tried to smother. For years, I had lived in silence, letting people make their assumptions about who I was. But now, pushed into a corner, I felt the dam inside me crack. The reveal. I placed my fork down carefully, my hands trembling just enough for me to notice. "You want to know who those men are, Amanda?" I asked quietly. She leaned forward, eager for the spectacle. "Yes. Please. Enlighten us." I swallowed hard, my voice breaking slightly as I began. "They're not lovers. They're not affairs. They're men from a shelter I volunteer at downtown." The table shifted uncomfortably, but I pressed on. "I meet with them weekly. Some are struggling with addiction. Some are veterans. Some are just broken souls trying to find their way back into a world that's forgotten them. I listen to their stories. I sit with them when no one else will. And sometimes I let them cry on my shoulder. Because no one else does." I looked Amanda straight in the eyes. "That's what those photos are. That's what those texts are. Men who call me when they're on the edge of doing something irreversible. Men who need a reminder that they matter. That's what you've twisted into an affair. The room was so quiet I could hear the faint ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall. The shift. Daniel's face softened, his hand reaching under the table to squeeze mine. His mother blinked rapidly, her fork resting midair. But Amanda wasn't ready to back down. So what? You expect us to believe you're just playing savior? That there's nothing more? Yes, I said firmly. Because I know what it feels like to need someone and have no one there. A hush fell again. My chest heaved with the weight of the words I had never intended to speak aloud. But now that I had, I couldn't stop. I know because years ago, I was one of them. The deeper truth. Gasps filled the room again, but I didn't flinch. My voice shook, but I kept talking. When I was 19, I was in an abusive relationship. I lost myself in it. He isolated me from my friends, my family. And when he left me broken and penniless, I ended up on the streets for 3 months. I slept in my car. I begged for food. I thought about ending it more than once. And then, a stranger noticed me. A woman who barely knew me sat with me on a park bench and said, "You don't have to disappear." That one moment saved me. Tears burned my eyes as I stared at Amanda. So yes. I sit with those men. I answer their late-night texts. I hug them when they cry. Because I refuse to let anyone else feel like they're invisible. And if you think that makes me unfaithful, then you have no idea what love even means. The aftermath. Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. Amanda's face paled, her lips parted as though she wanted to argue but couldn't find the words. Daniel squeezed my hand harder, tears shining in his eyes. "Why didn't you tell me all of this?" he whispered. I turned to him, my throat tight. "Because I didn't want you to see me as broken. I didn't want your family to know I wasn't the perfect wife they expected." His voice cracked. "You're not broken. You're the strongest person I know." Across the table, his mother set her fork down and reached for her wine with trembling fingers. "Sarah. I had no idea. None of us did." Amanda looked away, her usual fire gone. For once, she had no ammunition left. The twist. And then, just when I thought the storm had passed, Amanda whispered something I wasn't prepared for. I knew someone like that too," she said, her voice barely audible. "My best friend in college. She overdosed. I never forgave myself for not seeing the signs." Her eyes filled with tears. For the first time since I had known her, Amanda didn't look like the enemy. She looked human. Broken in her own way. The revelation hit me like a tidal wave. Maybe Amanda's cruelty wasn't just malice. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was grief, twisted into armor. Conclusion. Dinner ended in uneasy silence, each of us lost in our own thoughts. Amanda avoided my eyes, but I caught the flicker of something softer on her face before she left. Regret, maybe. Or recognition. That night, as Daniel and I drove home, he held my hand tighter than ever before. "You don't have to hide anymore," he said. "Not from me. Not from anyone." For the first time in years, I felt a strange sense of relief. Amanda had tried to expose me, but in doing so, she had forced me to reveal a truth I had hidden even from myself. The irony wasn't lost on me. In trying to destroy me, she had unknowingly set me free. And yet, as I stared out the window into the dark night, I couldn't help but wonder, had Amanda exposed me, or had I exposed her? Because behind her smirk and venom, I had glimpsed something raw, something fragile. And I couldn't shake the feeling that her story wasn't finished. Not by a long shot.